When Ryan's when it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind Around with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The A-team that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind Around for Monday night, download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind Around for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rewind Raw. It's John Pollock and Wai Ting here for another week at Post Wrestling. How are you, Wai? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, John. Yeah, not bad. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
Cool. Okay. Any eventful things from the weekend?
It was Raw. Just counting down till Raw all weekend long from Virginia. I couldn't wait. I was at a soccer tournament this weekend. That was enjoyable.
With your son?
It was chaos, to be quite honest. We were he's not exactly enamored with soccer, but we were very big on you don't have to play soccer next season, but you do have to finish this season. You have to finish what you've started. And he did, and they ended up doing really well. They won both their games on Saturday. So we came back on Sunday and they came in second. So that was good. They had a good turnaround this team throughout the season. So
And
that was that. They played a lot of soccer this weekend.
okay, and he's not interested in returning?
We'll see. Seems unlikely. He might find a new sport next year, but we'll see. As one thing is said and can be the complete opposite the next day. So it's a day by day thing. How about you?
Glad
What
to
did you
hear
get
it.
up to this weekend? Anything wild? Crazy?
No, not so wild. I mean, not more unfortunate, I guess. I found raccoon poop on my roof, so I had to get up there and
Oh, that's happened to me
get rid
too.
of it. And it's
This
really
is what we have become at this time on the show.
yeah. I'm listening to Braden and Davey talk about their adventures in like all these secret bars in like Europe, and here we are like talking about kids soccer games and scooping raccoon poop, which is very dangerous, by the way, a biohazard. So be careful.
Yeah. So what did you do? Did you get up there? Did you have to call somebody? Like, what's the process?
Got up there, did it myself, but
Mhm.
I probably should have called somebody because I'm really no expert.
Found a mouse the other day.
Yeah, found it. Did you catch it?
No, I didn't catch it. They're fast, dude. Like, what are you gonna do if you come upstairs and you see a mouse? Like, those things are quick.
Oh, you got to set a trap. There's no way you can catch it.
Yeah.
Just by
I've been
hand.
the designated one when they get caught in a trap. I'm the one who has to dispose of it. I've been nominated to do that, so that's fun.
I would assume so. I guess it would be your kids.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, that's my job. These mice, they're just what can you do?
I mean, it's really their house, isn't it? They were probably here.
In many ways, they were
Yeah.
probably there first, so we're kind of intruding on their domain.
Right.
For this and more, this is what the Post Wrestling Cafe is for all of those that are so curious about the trials and tribulations of home ownership. It's an enlightening experience. I encourage everyone to try it at least once. But today we are going to be going over all the latest news. We have a Raw to talk about. They keep telling me it was 3 hours. It's like, there's no way it was that long. It just breezed by tonight. I mean, you blink and the show's over. So we'll talk about that. If you want to leave any feedback or super chats, it's like a normal chat, but it's super. Because you put a dollar figure behind it. That makes it super.
Oh, and plus we'll read it.
That's true. Support the mouse trappings by sending us a super chat, and we will get to those after the review of Raw and a look ahead at what is coming up this week on the site, which will include several interesting shows that we have. Of course, I don't know if you heard, Wai, a merger is going down on Tuesday. So we are minutes away from the final day of Vince McMahon having majority control of this company that he has had for 40 years. And he is going to still be a 16% shareholder in this new TKO Group Holdings, but he will no longer be able to announce he is coming out of retirement and elbow his way back into a position of power if the board of directors unanimously says, we don't think that's a great idea. And his response cannot be, well, that's nice that that's your thought. I am telling you that I am coming back. okay then, boss. And thus he would be returning. That would not be able to be doable under this new structure at TKO.
Right. Yes.
So it's a very, very seismic shift. We will be talking about this a bit more on Wednesday with Brandon Thurston and going through all of the ramifications now that this merger is closed, and what is coming up in the foreseeable future for both companies, and what this mammoth TKO is going to represent and look like in the weeks, months, and years to come. But also this week we have got Impact 1000. So we're going to be doing something unique on Friday night. We will review SmackDown on Rewind to SmackDown, but Wai and I are also going to go through Impact 1000, which was taped over the weekend. So we are going to watch that. Wai is going to just swoop in and see what is happening in Impact Wrestling land. It's been a minute since Wai has watched some Impact, so we're going to get his fresh thoughts on what is this version of Impact Wrestling. He has been mentally scarred from back in the day when we had to do these on a weekly basis. So it is maybe safe to go back into the water, at least for 1 week for Wai.
I'll check in every 1,000 episodes or so.
That's a good check-in.
Yeah.
Every time, not just every 100th, every 50th, every 1,000 episodes.
Yeah. See you in 20 years.
That's it. So look forward to that. It's a 1 in 1,000 chance this coming Friday night when we speak about this on Rewind to SmackDown. We will also have Tim Hornbacker, who has a new book out on Ric Flair. I'm going to be interviewing him on Thursday, so that's going to be out. And then all of our regular shows. Brewdog is all over the feed this week. He's going to be on with WH Park on Friday, chatting Kenta Kobashi and Dr. Death. And then Saturday night with Kate on Collision Course. So Bruce Lord taking over this coming weekend.
Certainly is. Yeah. And the return of the BDE to Up Next this week, 10:15 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/postwrestling.
The big return. So tune into that on Tuesday night, a pretty loaded edition of NXT that we will go over coming up. So you can follow along postwrestling.com and postwrestlingcafe.com for all of your bonus shows, updates right into your email. All the greatness of the Post Wrestling Cafe can be found. But let us get into today's news. First of all, a update on Jim Duggan. Had an unfortunate he was rushed to the hospital over the weekend. He was being honored at the Glens Falls Firefighters Association. And then shortly after, his wife provided an update that he had to be taken to hospital for an emergency surgery. They did not reveal what the issue was, but was released on Monday. So he is back home. Duggan has had a number of issues going back years. He had his heart problems and then was diagnosed with prostate cancer a few years ago. So 69 years of age, and he has certainly had his ailments, but glad to hear that he is home. Scary situation, and emergency surgery, never ideal.
No. I mean, as a wrestling community, we've certainly been through, I think, a lot of bad news over the past month. So this thankfully sounds like it all went really well. So wishing him speedy recovery.
Yes, hopefully Jim Duggan is on the mend. Quite the story involving Matt Riddle over the weekend. So this circulated when Matt Riddle was on his way back from the India card that went down on Friday, and he was landing in JFK International Airport. And through the reporting first at Ringside News, and then TMZ, New York Post has covered this story. So the Port Authority Police Department, they were contacted about a disorderly person that ended up being Riddle, who was getting off the plane. And they came to see what the issue was and spoke with him. And it seemed like everyone calmed down. It wasn't a big incident. There was no police report filed, and sort of everyone went their separate way. Then Riddle posted on Instagram this message that has since been deleted, referring to the airport cop who he accused of sexually assaulting him. And this is the message: nothing like being sexually assaulted by an officer and harassed at the JFK airport. No means no. And just because I'm nice doesn't mean yes, asshole. Don't know their Twitter or Instagram handles, but I took pictures. Normally I'm like, whatever. But today was really weird and uncomfortable, and they made a point to make me feel small and useless. Definitely one of the most uncomfortable travel days I've ever had. Thanks, New York City. You're so progressive and accepting. So, as I said, this was later deleted, and the Port Authority have thus opened up an investigation now that this claim has been made. They can't just turn a blind eye to this, but Riddle was not at Raw tonight. PW Insider reporting he is not expected to be on the live events this weekend. So this is just all around a bizarre story. There had also been the potential that he might have been intoxicated as well. Didn't sound like a good look here, and whatever is going on with him, obviously they're going to get to the core of the matter. And you would think that, I mean, this is one where, I mean, a claim like this, when there were all these people around and you had
cameras,
security and cameras, this is one of those accusations that can probably be confirmed or denied with evidence. Right.
Yeah. It's a bit of a bizarre one. And I would say unfortunate, no matter what the result is, if there is sexual harassment, that's certainly not a good thing. If it's something that didn't deserve this sort of claim, then I think it reflects, unfortunately, poorly on Matt Riddle. And he's somebody who I think has had a very controversial past already. And somebody that I imagine you can only perhaps go so far with this sort of like these sort of stories attached to him in the public sphere. And again, everything that came out about him speaking out, to my knowledge, has not necessarily been proven, nor at least investigated, and like he was allowed to continue to work in the WWE, of course. So they kind of claim that they've done their research and have accepted him for that. And maybe things are going to be similar.
Loomed with him since his call up when that came out. Like, it's certainly something that the company has obviously felt comfortable in promoting him for several years now. But I mean, it is something that has stuck with him.
Certainly, yeah. And a lot of that stuff came back out, in the replies in the Twitter kind of conversation when it comes to the topic of sexual assault involving Matt Riddle. And I mean, I personally prefer to keep topics separate. This is a serious, claim from somebody, and those are serious claims. And I think we should be taking each one as its own story.
You can't outright dismiss like any of this. I think that's one thing that we should learn. Like, whatever people want to attach to your pre-existing thoughts on a Matt Riddle, but this is one where I feel it is not going to be so much just he said, she said. Like, there should be pretty concrete evidence if this in fact happened at a airport, at a public airport, as well. And what he conveyed to the police here, like, he was questioned by, or the police at least were in contact with him, and apparently like he did not raise any issue. Like, it seemed like they were just stunned as anyone when they saw this message circulate that, again, he deleted shortly thereafter. But not at Raw tonight, and we will see what that means for his immediate booking by WWE.
They did mention him. Kevin Owens.
He was brought up. He was brought up, and it wasn't as though they avoided bringing him up. Just physically was not there.
Mm-hmm.
UFC 293 on Saturday. The main thing I just wanted to talk about was, as we said on Friday when we were going over the cardway, could be one of the biggest upsets in championship history if it could be pulled off. Sean Strickland, in fact, became the UFC middleweight champion, defeating Israel Adesanya by unanimous decision. Won 4 rounds to 1 on pretty much everybody's scorecard. And this fight almost ended in the first round when Strickland rocked him and just followed up with strikes. And if the fight had ended there, it would have been kind of similar to Michael Bisping, like catching Luke Rockhold, or even Matt Serra catching George St. Pierre. But Adesanya weathered the storm, and you figured that he got his faculties back together, won the second round. But then, dude, Sean Strickland had a simple but super effective game plan of just constantly backing up Adesanya. He stood with Adesanya for 5 rounds, won 4 of the rounds, and Adesanya is a great counter striker, but he was given no openings to get anything going. And it was a frustrating fight if you were an Adesanya supporter, that you just saw this title reign. Like, all of a sudden by round 3 and 4, you're starting to see like this, the sands in the hourglass are quickly expiring on this title reign. And the 5th, like, Adesanya just could not turn it on and deal with Strickland's like, it's just very, very good boxing and cutting off Adesanya, and Adesanya got off leg kicks, but wasn't able to really add up on them. And Sean Strickland is your champion. One of the bigger upsets. He came into this almost a 7-1 underdog. And in many ways, the fact he went 5 rounds, it was that much more definitive rather than, well, he caught him. And maybe if they fought 10 times, it would be Adesanya winning 8 of them. This was a case where Strickland was just the better fighter on this night. And it's a debate about, Dana White seems to believe Adesanya should get the immediate rematch, but this is a guy that's now lost 2 title fights in his last 3 fights. And this was a pretty dominant performance from Sean Strickland, and was not the outcome. I won't say nobody saw this one coming, but very, very few. I think if you take out Sean Strickland's immediate family and coaching, it's a very small number that thought he would win this. Wai was he was speechless on Saturday night. Could not believe it, because much like another Scarborough native, Drake put $500,000 on Adesanya to knock out Strickland.
Ooh, really?
But it's okay. He won something like 2.7 million on Adesanya's last fight when he knocked out Pereira. So he's okay. Drake will be fine. Don't worry about him. He doesn't need a GoFundMe.
Okay.
Yeah, but this was Sean Strickland is as a individual, he has said some very repulsive things, and it's this weird dichotomy, because this was such a great story on Saturday, and he kind of left he was still doing his shtick, but going into this card, everyone was worried if this guy gets a live mic, what he is going to say. And yet it was on the other fights, we had 2 gay slurs uttered on the broadcast, one of which came earlier in the card with Charles Radke, who used the 6-letter F word. And then later in the evening, he issues an apology online. And then within a half hour after this apology, Manel Kopp is in the octagon, and he's doing this great promo on Kai Kara France, who was supposed to be his opponent, and he's in the crowd, and he's just going off on him. And then it's like right in his last breath, he's got to like drop the same slur. I was like, you were doing so well. And then he just drops this. And then he had to apologize at the press conference afterwards. So this was, welcome to TKO Group Holdings. It's a very different world of all these companies under one roof now.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like and like, what sort of punishment, will happen? It just seems like we hold UFC fighters to a different standard, and this sort of shit is just kind of acceptable. Whereas
also a different fan base. Like, you can definitely see that, where like I can't even fathom like someone on Dynamite.
Can you imagine a
Raw?
wrestler? Exactly. Can you imagine an AEW or WWE wrestler saying that in any forum?
This is not like some wrestler that is just tweeting out something awful that, that stuff happens at times, but on your broadcast, much less like your pay-per-view, the biggest company. And like, there would be,
and it's happened in the past. I mean, CM Punk,
I'm not saying like wrestling is pristine by any stretch, but I'm just thinking like what
2023, I feel things should be very different, but I mean, there's just a culture in a lot of these, like, MMA.
To be quite honest, I was surprised we got like apologies from the fighters so quickly. Yeah. And Dana White did state like they did not force these guys to apologize, and that's been Dana White's, like, that's his brand now, is that you can say whatever you want, and they are not going to police anyone, and that plays to a fan base in mixed martial arts that very much is drawn to that kind of reaction that a Dana White is going to have. But regardless, that was an aspect of the show on Saturday. And it was just interesting to see, like, you have people that are just shaking their head, that of course this happens in MMA, and then another audience that is, what's a big deal?
Yeah.
So there you go. That was UFC. On Saturday night, Wai and Kate from Montreal did a review of Collision, and it was quite the show. It was a very busy show, but one of the key news items coming out of it is Bryan Danielson, who, it was Brandon Thurston that brought this out of Bryan Danielson at the last press conference about, taking on more duties with AEW, and he revealed about this promise he has made to his 7-year-old daughter. His 6-year-old daughter, that once she is 7, he will start to, stop doing wrestling, at least at this level. And so this was the basis of the promo, that his daughter turns 7 next year. And man, you have never heard a crowd groan so much at a 6-year-old with her birthday a year away than this heavily male audience that was going to cry over Bryan Danielson choosing fatherhood over bangers, bro. And he said, don't worry, for the next year, I'm going to present some bangers. And I'm going to start off with Zack Sabre Jr. on October 1st in Seattle. And part of me listened to this promo way, and I was like, man, this dude, is he going to go injury-free for a year? Like, if he's going with the idea, I have an endpoint, so I'm going to just leave it all out there. I mean, my God, I don't know what this man is going to do in the final countdown, which is what this should be marketed as.
Final countdown. When is Birdie Danielson's birthday? You know?
It's next. I don't know. It's next year. I don't know. Would she have a Wikipedia page yet?
Looks like it's May.
May. Okay.
Yeah.
There you have it.
So, I mean, we are already in the midst of what he claims to be his final, I would say, year as a full-time professional wrestler.
I would say full-time. I mean, it's, he has always spoken openly about the fact he would love to be someone that's in his 70s that could still go out there and do a match. Like, I don't think this is a hard out, but the idea, I think he is going to approach this year like, I am a weekly character on Collision, and I am going to just put everything on my shoulders, and I'm going to go hard this year and then taper things off. And then you can have, like, we're going to get to a point where AEW can have the same thing that WWE for years was able to rely on, which are names from the past that come in for 1 or 2 big shows a year. And Danielson could be one of those guys that when you do a big show, but you only get to see him once a year or something.
Provided he stays in AEW.
If he stays, he might have that desire to do that Arena Mexico, that CMLL anniversary show. Like, that was, he has an interesting bucket list of what he wants to do in wrestling, and it's not, it's not everyone's list.
Yeah, when I initially heard him mention it either at the press conference or in the promo on Saturday, I, to be honest, didn't pay so much attention to it just because I chalked it up to just wrestler talk. Wrestlers always, have, maybe one foot out the door, but then they end up wrestling for 30 more years. But maybe with Danielson, you might kind of take different, sort of stock in how much he means something like this. Whatever the case, I think it sets up for a wonderful, what essentially does kind of become a bit of a retirement tour for Danielson as he goes on to have all these various dream matches, and starting things off with the Zack Sabre announcement, I thought totally reinvigorated, I think, his status as the face of Collision, certainly, if not the entire company.
Yeah. So it's a big match for Seattle. And do you see this being the main event for the show, or do you expect the title match to be on this card in some form?
What are you presuming to be the title match?
I'm thinking that we're getting MJF against Strong and MJF against Joe, and it's to your we'll see on Wednesday which one is next week, but I could certainly see the other happening right around the corner on October 1st.
I think if it's a big enough match, if MJF versus either whoever his opponent is hot enough by then, I think they'll make it the main event. But if it's somebody who ends up being completely cold, then I don't think it'll be. Maybe he won't even defend the title on WrestleDream. He could do a tag team title defense, with Cole, of course. But this is a match you could headline really any card with. Danielson.
The other key name is Will Ospreay. He's not on that New Japan show, so that's in there as well as a potential. But yeah, that is WrestleDream, and it's coming up very soon. Impact. We're not going to go through spoilers from Impact 1000, save for the Hall of Fame announcements. If you do want to read, John Cena was at both shows over the weekend, and he has a report from both nights with Victory Road on Friday, and then from Impact 1000 on Saturday.
Yeah, incredibly detailed report. So if you don't want to wait till Thursday, check out John's spoiler report.
Yeah, we're gonna have to ask John if he's made any promises to Lorenzo. Once Lorenzo turns a certain age, he's gonna dial back on the reports. But Lorenzo was the star of Impact over the weekend.
He really was. Got retweeted by Trinity. Absolutely.
Yeah. John Cena has learned that kids mean high engagement for your social media posts. But for the Hall of Fame, which will be on Bound for Glory weekend in Chicago, October 21st, they announced Mike Tenay and Don West going in together, and then announcing Tracy Brooks will be going into the Hall of Fame as well. And with the Tracy Brooks one, I mean, there was fan video of her. This is after the match where her husband, Frankie Kazarian, was teaming. This was Tracy's first match back in years. And then they threw to the video. Their kid was in the ring, and this looked like complete 100% Tracy was caught off guard by this, and you got the legitimate surprise. So whether that airs this week or next week, I'm sure they'll have the reaction there. Looked very cool. And Don West and Mike Tenay, I think it's just excellent that you're putting the two of them in together. Of course, Don West had just passed away in December, and those two are the voices of TNA for many people. And what's funny, I was thinking about this. I'm fairly certain I was there for Tracy Brooks' very first pro wrestling match in the Apocalypse Wrestling Federation. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, look at it now.
There you go. An Impact Hall of Famer. But yeah, it sounded like a very fun show on Saturday night. So much so that Wai was like, dude, we got to watch this. We got to watch Impact 1000. Like, okay, Wai, we'll do it. We'll do it for you.
I'm looking forward to it. Talking about it on Friday.
It's a very enjoyable product right now. SmackDown on Friday, they fell to 2,094,000 viewers and a 0.53 in the demo. So this was without Roman Reigns, without John Cena, and it was their lowest 18 to 49 audience going back to May the 26th, although audience-wise, they were only down from August 18th. The quarter hours was actually a very good pattern in the 18 to 49 audience and peaked for the main event with AJ Styles and Jimmy Uso, which is a good thing when your show shows growth and peaks with the main event. And viewership, though, overall, it kind of tapered off in the second hour. The peak was the opening quarter with just over 2.1 million viewers. Rampage was up, doing 385,000 viewers and a 0.13 in 18 to 49. So their largest audience since August 18th. And the peak was the third quarter. This coming from WrestleNomics for the conclusion of the women's trios match and the Young Bucks match against Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. So the combination of the Young Bucks and two tournament matches made for a more must-see Rampage than most Rampages.
Yeah, curious to see if they'll maybe employ any sort of similar tactic in subsequent weeks where you might have like this sort of, through line narrative between Dynamite to Rampage to Collision, which certainly helped my engagement last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine idea to have, and they're trying to serve a lot at the moment. Like you're looking at, Dynamite seems very safe numbers wise for TV. Collision is something that needs a lot of focus with all this competition, and Rampage is, I think this was a higher level of Rampage. It is, to me, like the ticket numbers are something that, like, you could see how aggressive they were getting on Collision when it came to cities were going to really pushing Grand Slam, because ticket numbers are soft and it's not limited to just a part of the country. Like it's pretty sizable wherever they go. It's just, it's a colder live event promotion at the moment. Tuesday, NXT, Tiffany Stratton against Becky Lynch for the women's title with maybe the most simplistic contract signing we've ever had on tonight's Raw. Ilya Dragunov against Wes Lee. That's a number one contenders match. Akira Tozawa, fresh off 3 skull-crushing finales, will take on Nathan Frazier in the Global Heritage Invitational. Tyler Bate against Axiom, also in the Global Heritage Invitational. Dana Brooke against Lyra Valkyria. The Creeds take on Malik Blade and Idris Enofe. And Damon Kemp, Drew Gulak, and Charlie Dempsey taking on Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, and in his NXT televised debut, Miles Bourne.
Miles Bourne.
Miles Bourne. Yes. Sounds like a character from a Nickelodeon show that got canceled in 1996. And finally, Dynamite on Wednesday night in Cincinnati has Roderick Strong against Samoa Joe in the finals of the Eliminator Tournament. Winner takes on MJF at Grand Slam. Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm, Nyla Rose, and Britt Baker. The winner takes on Saraya next week. Jon Moxley against Big Bill for the international title. Paige Cage 3, finally.
Yes.
What's the line like on this match? Who's the minus 700 favorite for this one? And then Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, wait for it, they will speak. Their lips will move and noises will come out. They will speak. And that is Dynamite coming up this week. What's going to be the big show of the week, Wai?
This week. Okay. Collision.
Okay. You know what's happening this weekend is that Ospreay Marufuji match as well.
Okay, well, maybe that'll be it.
Raw tonight. Was this the show of the week?
I don't think so. No.
It's kind of the only show of the week so far, technically.
But I don't think it will be.
It's number one until there's some random show that takes place Tuesday morning in some time zone. They were at the Norfolk Scope in Norfolk, Virginia.
I think you said that right.
I think so too. Jey Uso begins the show. Says, it's good to be on my own and on Raw. And Kevin Owens interrupted him. It was like, please let Jey Uso continue. Where was he going with this? Because he said the exact same thing last week. What was the speech that he had prepared to kick off Raw? There were a few of those on tonight's show. Kevin Owens says, I think you meant to say it's good to be on the Kevin Owens show. Crickets. And he says that I've been in the same place as you, Jay. I did a lot of bad things to good people, and I had to make a change, but it was hard to earn people's respect and their trust. Drew and Matt Riddle don't want you here, but plenty others don't want you either. And it won't be easy for you in this locker room. Cody seems to be okay with you being here, and Zayn has welcomed you with open arms, but that's it. You have a long way to go to earn my respect and prove that you're not the same scumbag that was part of the bloodline. And this will be the story of Raw, much like it was the story of Raw last week, and will continue to be Jey Uso, the unpopular kid at school, the new kid. The Judgment Day come out, and they respect Jey. And Owens does not speak for the entire locker room. So this is a contentious personality that has split opinions among those in the locker room. Who they think is a divisive figure, but he's a big star, and thus they are going to placate him.
Well, you certainly do think about CM Punk a whole lot when you're watching this particular storyline, but I have a feeling this was all set in motion even before that. I mean, it would be strangely convenient for them. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, they state the door is open for Jey, and Dom is just booed. It was impossible to hear this guy. And anyway, Judgment Day states they thought they had a match tonight against Owens and Zayn, but Owens informs them Zayn isn't here tonight. No reason was given.
Cody Rhodes wasn't there as well, despite him being advertised ahead of time. The show. What did he do on the show?
Cody came out for it was not long, but he did come out for a segment.
I must have totally missed the segment.
It was very quick.
Wow, really? Okay. News to me. I apologize.
Yes, he was there. And Jey then offers to team with Owens to prove he can trust him. And after Owens said, it's not going to be easy for you to earn my respect and prove, Owens is like, okay, let's team up. So, I mean, the guy took
a test.
Some big steps forward. So they clear out the ring, and it is our tag match with Balor and Priest against Owens and Jey Uso. A chance of Usi at the beginning, and they're working on Owens' knee after a chop block. Jey lands a dive, and then they come back. Advantage is on Owens, and Jey gets the tag, lands on the knees with an Uso splash to Balor. And then Priest takes a tornado DDT, and Priest avoids the stunner. Jey goes for a super kick, missing Priest, and he super kicks Kevin Owens. And this leads to the coup de grace. Balor pins Owens in 12:26. And Michael Cole says, it was innocent enough, but due to Jey's past, no one trusts him. And he tries to explain to Owens what went wrong, and Owens just shakes his head, and he limps up the ramp. He's very upset.
Yes. I thought they continued to flesh out this Jey Uso entering Raw story pretty well tonight. They continue to not really give him that much space to actually cut promos, and I have a feeling it's because they're trying to protect him from having too much mic time. And I, for that reason, still think he's a bit unproven as a singles promo right now. But there's enough story here, and he has plenty of crowd support with everybody doing the arm thing to make all of this work, So I thought Owens tonight did a great job here of not just carrying the promo segment, but doing a great job in the match as well. And I thought the closing spot worked really well.
He's booked in a lot of segments to listen. He had to have been in like 7 segments tonight, and it was pretty much listening to other people talk.
Well, he's just like trying to be innocent guy, minding his own business, trying to, carve a new path for himself. And it's everybody else that doesn't really want him there.
Then Jey finds Owens in the back. He's trying to explain what happened, and Owens tells him, go find your new bloodline, the Judgment Day, and you can dye your hair purple.
Yep.
They recap Gunther beating Gable last week, and then this car arrives and Imperium get out in their suits because tonight is a celebration for Gunther beating the honky tonk man's record.
That's right.
Imagine if old Wayne got out of that back seat. Hey, Gunther. There was a 9/11 memorial video, and then The Miz took on Akira Tozawa, and this was Miz looking to avenge his loss to Tozawa, which happened 3 weeks ago when LA Knight was talking on commentary, and this distracted Miz. So they're promoting Miz and Knight for SmackDown on Friday, and Tozawa got off to a hot start. There was a tiny balls chant, and Miz takes over, hits a lung blower, 1 skull-crushing finale, 2 skull-crushing finales, and then does the M-I-Z and hits 1 final skull-crushing finale in 3 minutes and 12 seconds. And thus, The Miz picks up 2 points in the Global Heritage Invitational. He's a write-in participant.
Yeah. I don't see him showing up on NXT. Well, maybe eventually, but not tomorrow.
Tozawa should be like dead showing up for this match tomorrow. I mean, these were 3, his face was rammed into the floor 3 times.
Maybe he'll show up with a face mask. Who knows? But it's just, pretty simple. Not much to say about the match itself. Just gives Miz some, promo time before LA Knight's match on Friday.
Saxton is with Raquel Rodriguez, and she says that Rhea might be the most dominant female to step into the ring. Most people fear her before they even get into the ring, but she isn't most women. And Dom is not going to be here tonight, and Rhea won't be the tallest, strongest, or angriest in the ring tonight. She's going to out-anger her.
I guess she was right.
I think everyone was angry at the end,
and it wasn't Raquel either.
No, that's true. So when Raquel said that she isn't most women, I guess that should have been our clue. She's not like most girls.
That's right. Yeah, I thought the promo was okay. I still think like she's lacking a little bit of like personality, or at least maybe what feels like a personality that's true to her, not just something on a page.
Jackie Redmond interviews Shayna Baszler and admits that Zoe did surprise her last week. Most people tap out to the Kirifuda clutch immediately. So Chelsea Green walks in. She's down another partner, calls herself and Shayna peers, and Baszler disagrees with this notion. And after offering her a spot to be her partner, Baszler challenges her to a match. And then Green turns around, and there's Piper Niven, in her gear no less, and just takes back her belt. So the tag team champions are restored.
Yeah.
Injury did not take out Niven.
No, it just seemed like it was a pretty quick illness, and I guess good for her. I mean, a lot of drama for nothing, I kind of feel, but okay.
It's the women's tag division. Every week you tune in, someone might be gone or hurt. The ceremony for Gunther, we had 2 pillars in the ring, and Gunther comes out, stands on his podium. This should be every segment for this guy. This guy should have his own interview segment. The Café de Gunther. He's speaking in German and says that the legends that held this title contributed absolutely nothing. I've elevated this title all on my own, and I'm running out of competition. So Chad Gable interrupts, and he calls it a match for the ages they had last week, and no one has pushed Gunther as far as I did and came close to beating him. But then he saw the look on his family's faces last week, including his oldest daughter crying, tears that you caused. And he wouldn't expect Gunther to know how that feels, and says that you lit a fire under me to make this whole thing right. And I will beat you once. I beat you once, and I will do it again. And then he swears to God that he's going to win that championship. And he swears to God his daughter is walking out with a smile on her face. What
Great.
a dad.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. I think they are continuing to really take advantage of the loss last week as a way to present Gable in a brand new light. Just like, they did in his online exclusive video last week. They took that same very serious Chad Gable and brought that out to the stage tonight. And I thought they made some great use of the lasting impression of the match, which is his daughter crying. I mean, he's using that image to justify his evolution into this new, more serious version of himself. And I think it's great.
Gunther comes back and accuses Chad of using his family as bait for the spotlight. You are a great athlete, but you are a disgusting, terrible father. And Gable attacks. He's beaten down 3-on-1. Otis is out, and then Gunther gets involved. He's taking him down when Ciampa runs out with a chair to clear the ring. I thought this was a really great segment, primarily for Gable, but Gunther, again, like, he is great in all of these talking segments that he has put in.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Earlier today, Drew McIntyre caught up with Xavier Woods, and Woods says, "What was up with last week with you and Kofi?" And Drew apologizes and says, maybe Kofi can grow a set and come speak with me himself. Woods says, "You know what? I think you're jealous." Jealous of what? Because Kofi won his championship at a packed stadium at WrestleMania, and you won your title inside of an empty warehouse. And Drew was like, "Dude, you are really struggling for a reason here." But he says, "No, and I'm going to hurt you tonight." And Xavier says, "Cool, we'll have a match." And that was our setup for Drew and Woods.
And that's it.
No mention of Riddle here. No explanation of where's he. Alpha Academy is with Ciampa, and they spoke. Ciampa was told to seize his moment and said there's no bigger moment than Gunther's celebration. It's like, really? This was the biggest moment for you to seize all these weeks. This is the moment to seize.
Well, he was told that last week. He didn't think about it until this week. And for somebody of his level, I guess this was probably the best way he could find his opening.
He didn't try to team with Chelsea Green, for instance, for a title opportunity.
No.
So Gable says he hates Imperium, and Otis proposes a 6-man Carnage match. Carnage match. Sounds like something on a GCW show. Xavier Woods and Drew McIntyre. So now the story is that Drew McIntyre, Cole notes, he helped carry us through that dark time. That dark time. So he hits Woods with a Glasgow kiss, throws Woods over the desk. And then we come back, and Woods connects with a sunset bomb and hits a leg drop for a 2 count. The honor roll is caught into a belly to belly, and things really picked up here. Woods stops a Claymore with a super kick. And then Drew goes for the inverted Alabama slam that Woods turns into a victory roll, follows with the Shining Wizard. They're trading strikes. Woods ducks the clothesline, slides through Drew's legs, and runs right into the Claymore. Great finish. 9 minutes, 42 seconds. Drew gets the win, and I thought these two did a really good job with this match.
I thought it was a really good TV match, and it just kind of goes to show, anytime you have Xavier Woods advertised on on a show, he always delivers really good quality. So I wonder if Matt Riddle being off of the show meant that this storyline wasn't going to did it interrupt some more significant event taking place between these four, I should say.
I would assume there was going to be something involving Riddle with Drew on this show, and this was sort of just a
match.
Keep busy for both of these guys, primarily Drew. But it was a really good match with what they had. If this was just kind of a stopgap for this week, and they might not know what the status of Riddle is going to be next week. And then, I'm not making up any of this, Cody Rhodes comes out, and
I actually did watch it. I just totally forgot about it by the time it was over.
Well, it was not memorable. I'm definitely not going to defend.
My God.
This is my this dude got into an airplane for this segment, a match or moment of the show. So Cody Rhodes says, "What do you want to talk about?" And he wants to talk about Jey Uso. But before he can, Dominic and JD McDonough come out, and Dom is happy that Jey was brought to Raw by Cody. He's getting booed, and he says, when Jey joins the Judgment Day, Cody, you're going to look like a fool. And he flicks Cody's tie, and Cody just unloads on these two, sends JD to the floor, Cody Cutter and Crossroads to Dom. And that was it. That was the whole involvement of Cody Rhodes on this show. So impactful that we watched this and forgot.
Yeah,
I mean, there was nothing to this.
I could have sworn at the end of the show, where was Cody Rhodes? But yeah, you're right. Like this was it. And I do wonder if he was supposed to be in another something involving Jey Uso, like who was on the show today. This just kind of feels like something that was just an excuse to put Cody out there.
This is like, we advertise Cody and we've got to put him on somewhere, so we will do this. Like, this didn't even, like, I guess you could do Cody against either one of these guys, but this isn't starting a program. This just felt like it was a segment to do a segment. And Cody is just sort of, he's attached to this Jey story.
Yeah, and he'll get to Drew eventually, because Drew has mentioned, being angry at Cody.
Yeah, but that seems like that's some weeks away at least.
Right.
Well, what do you see Cody doing at this next pay-per-view?
I think there are like really interesting tag scenarios, involving maybe Cody.
You do him and Jey of some sort. Well, Jey's backstage. How many times have we brought up Jey in this show? He is just all over.
A lot of Judgment Day, a lot of Jey Uso on the show, and that's fine. Like, you want lead characters, right?
He runs into Drew McIntyre, who does not trust Jey, and his response is cool. And Drew goes on to say, I don't think you can stand on your own 2 feet. And I think you're going to end up joining Judgment Day. Want to fight next week? Yep. Okay.
All right.
Pretty simple. To the point. They're going to wrestle next week. Chelsea Green against Shayna Baszler. So Green got destroyed, and she's trying to roll out of the ring, and Baszler and Niven go face to face on the floor. She shoves Niven and then avoids the unprettier and hits the Exterminatus. It's like, pardon me? And Michael Cole explains the Exterminatus is Ronda's Piper's Pit that Ronda has now stolen and is now her finisher. And this ends in 1:49. The Exterminatus.
I Googled it. It seems like it's something from
Eddie
Warhammer.
Bravo? Okay.
So one of those things.
Okay. The Exterminatus.
Yeah, get ready to say that plenty of times. I guess you can't really call it Piper's Pit because you already have a Piper on the roster. So now she can have the name.
That would be something if Niven had lost to this maneuver. They continue to fight. Stark comes out to back up Shayna, and then Niven stands up to them, and Stark just goes, "Get out of the ring." And Niven obediently rolled out of the ring. I mean, how menacing. So,
well,
I don't know.
It's showing off a 2-on-1 advantage and somebody that Piper Niven is actually afraid of, I guess. So, but
so am I rooting for the 2-on-1? Am I rooting for Shayna and Stark in this?
That's a great question, but I do get the sense that maybe just Chelsea and Piper, because they're kind of goofy and lovable, that they're supposed to be the baby faces, but it almost doesn't really matter because it's just another title challenge. And at this rate, I do wonder if Chelsea's title reign is going to end up being a bit shorter than they expected with Sonya. I have no idea, but they're forming a new tag team here with Shayna and Zoe, and I guess Shayna is just kind of back in the tag team division, which is a little disappointing because you hope that she'd be moved into the title picture.
That's a big win that you could have put anyone in that role with Ronda to get something out of. So I hope the fact that they went with Shayna, that I don't know, this tag division to me is just so dead. It feels nothing.
And the crowd was pretty cold for this match as well.
The crowd was cold for a lot here, but this included. And that my favorite part of Raw every week, it's story time with Shinsuke Nakamura, baby. And he is dressed up as a samurai. And he asks Seth if he feels like a champion. He says, Seth is not honorable. Would people still sing your song if they remembered the things you've done? It's like, these are wrestling fans. They remember a lot of stuff that they've seen on TV. And they show highlights of him turning on the Shield and working with the Authority, calls Seth a manipulator, a liar, and you bring shame to your family. And Shinsuke is going to strip him of his title and expose his lies. Your words mean nothing. And he will challenge Rollins when I feel like it. Quite a confident challenger. This was Sean Strickland's strategy with Adesanya. I will challenge you when I feel like it. And well, let's go to Rollins' response. He comes out and he admits he is a manipulator, a deceiver, and a liar. All the things Nakamura claims. But I'm also a father, a fighter, and your world champion. And he says, for a long time, I didn't know who I was. He mentions being part of the authority and having everyone lie to his face, but that didn't work. Then he tried to be what I thought you all wanted me to be. That sure didn't work. Then I became a messiah, but I found out that you people always wanted me to be myself. That's why you sing my song. Like, they sing it because it's a catchy little tune that they've enjoyed here, but I'm sure they like you too.
And is Rollins being himself really the guy who goes ha 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 and like wears the fur coats 100%. And talks like that? Okay, yes. That's Colby.
Yeah, when he's doing his CrossFit, he's cackling in between sets. He thinks Nakamura turned down the match last week because he thinks Nakamura was more hurt than he let on from their match last week. And then he calls out Nakamura to have a match right now. So Nakamura's theme begins, but he doesn't come out. And backstage, Nakamura is destroying poor Ricochet. And he tells Rollins he has bad timing because Rollins wasn't medically cleared. So I fought already. I'll take your title, but not tonight. And that will set up Nakamura against Ricochet for next week, which I could have sworn happened last week. We'll get it again next week. And then when Nakamura feels like it, he's got this automatic title match. It's like he's got the money in the bank without having to win the ladder match. He can have his title match whenever he chooses.
I guess when you've upset somebody that much, you have that over them. I like the feud overall, mainly because of the great, Nakamura promos that are just, they continue to be working so incredibly well. And they continue to be finding like really interesting ways of having Nakamura provoke Seth Rollins and not just say, by saying something mean to him, but like by really attacking his core identity, like really, really digging deep here,
You bring shame to your family.
Yeah. And like, you with these fans still sing your song if they remembered all the terrible that you did, taking advantage of everybody who's ever trusted you. Like, that's like really supervillain shit. That just is fantastic right now. I haven't really been as into maybe Rollins's responses, and maybe it's because this one in particular was dripped so much in like his usual gimmick that it did not feel authentic to me. He spoke it so much in his character voice rather than a serious voice that it to me just kind of took a little away.
Which week does Shinsuke just refer to him as Colby?
I mean, maybe that's next week. Sure.
What do you feel is the hours going into these Nakamura productions for like these 2-3 minute pieces?
I have to think a lot, unless they bulk shoot a bunch of them at the same time. But I think the writing on them is fantastic. So whoever's been in charge of like, helping them do that, if it's even Nakamura himself, but something tells me it's more of a collaborative effort. But yeah, like, setting up these scenes and I'm sure maybe doing some takes, maybe not a lot, but doing a few takes and the editing involved. Absolutely. It probably takes a whole lot.
Like, they're excellent. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But like, once he's out of like this big program, I don't think we'll expect these on a near regular basis. I mean, there's a lot of production that you have to go into these for what add up to like 2-3 minutes. Like we heard with Shayna, like that excellent Ronda piece is like, man, we sat there for like, that was an hour-long interview I did for what you ended up seeing.
It's true. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money in terms of people, and professionals to be able to kind of bring this quality out there. And you would think of, a company that was just sold for something like $9 billion would be able to afford that on a consistent basis. But I mean, there are limitations, I think, to every single person that they're willing to put their resources into. So this is their chance to like be able to try to find something to maybe get Nakamura to such a high level that even without these video packages, he'll still be over to a certain level beyond this feud.
Jey Uso runs into Finn Balor. And Balor like winks about what you did to Kevin Owens out there, being very clever. Says he's a fan of Jey, and so are all the members of the Judgment Day. And it's Rhea that gets Jey's attention. Like, really?
Yeah,
Rhea?
That was funny.
Yeah, that was a good line. And the doors are always open. So everyone is telling Jey how much we don't want you here, except for the Judgment Day. So I mean, why wouldn't he pick the Judgment Day? I'd be weighing my offers. Like, man, this group, they get a lot of TV time. They go over in all their matches. They're not assholes to me. What's not to like? Merchandise.
They're successful. You're right. Yeah. You get to hang out with Rhea Ripley.
So Imperium took on Chad Gable, Otis, and Tommaso Ciampa. They cut off the ring with Gable, and then he takes these triple boots from Imperium, makes the tag to Ciampa, who is in with Vinci, as we got two Cruiserweight Classic alumni here all these years later.
That's right. Yes.
Big reaction when Otis came in and he hits the Caterpillar onto Kaiser, and then Otis runs his shoulder into the post, these poor posts and the shoulders that break over them. Gunther and Gable tag in, so we get the showdown with them. There's a German to Gable, and then a powerbomb gets countered. He goes to the ankle lock, but Gunther is able to reach for Vinci for the tag. He puts Vinci into the ankle lock, and then this was like the best chaos theory. And it was all because of Vinci, okay? Because he rolls him, and he just slowly lifts him, and dude, Vinci is kicking for all his worth to stay down. Dude, you go back and watch this. Giovanni Vinci was amazing taking this chaos theory. I was like, this should just be the ending. This was so great. Gunther breaks it
That's
up.
sort of like slow, deadlifty type of German. Like Gunther, they did it with Gunther and Gable last week too, and it has to be intentional at this point. It is absolutely great. Yeah.
Ciampa then lands a running knee to Gunther, and Otis runs over Kaiser on the floor. Everyone's getting taken out, and Gable reapplies the ankle lock to Vinci, and Ciampa stops Gunther and forces him to watch Vinci tap in 13 minutes and 8 seconds. Gunther is furious, so I think Vinci's going to have to take like 100 chops next week or something as penance.
Maybe.
Like Yuta taking those European uppercuts from Claudio.
Oh, goodness. Really great match. It's a type of match that continues to put the spotlight on Gable's incredible in-ring abilities. I would say, like, throughout this Gunther series, he's really kind of escalated to the level, and we already all knew this, but like I would say even among the common, more casual WWE fan, I feel like he is now recognized as one of those guys who is like a Seth Rollins, where in any capacity where he's on TV, you're going to be guaranteed good in-ring quality. Like that's his gimmick now, a guy who can have tremendous matches. And with the promo today, and again with the supportive commentary really putting him over as well, his new series side, I think the transformation has been going really well. So they continue to put a lot of great emphasis on this Gable Gunther showdown, and even if it's not his next defense, it really does feel like they are beginning the long-term push for Gable to be the one to ultimately beat Gunther.
Yeah, I think that it was a great follow-up with Gable. We always talk about that, like some of these performances, and the follow-up was key. They did a really effective job, I thought, tonight with Chad Gable.
I thought it was also pretty interesting. You had in order to Ciampa, the move he used to stop the guy Gunther from breaking up the pin was what was identified as the Sicilian stretch, which is an old move he had in Ring of Honor, which was the Rings of Saturn. But what he actually put on was the Gargano escape. So I still took that to be a little bit more sort of a subtle teasing of whatever he's got going on with Gargano, who made his return at a live house show.
Yeah, we got a bunch of returns over the weekend. We had Gable Steveson on the NXT shows and Gargano on a WWE show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Judgment Day are they're discussing Jey Uso, and he's feeling isolated. Eventually, he'll need us. And Dominic wishes he could be out with Ripley, but he's banned from ringside. Tiffany Stratton is in the back with Adam Pearce and complains, asking, "Where's Becky?" And with that, Becky walked in. Not too dramatic. And Stratton says, "I've been nothing but respectful. I even apologize for referring to you as an NXT Women's Champion. Why are you coming after me and my title?" And Becky responds, calls her dumb as a box of rocks, but you've been trying to get attention during my matches, so you forced me to know who you are. So I'm going to make you famous tomorrow night. They both signed the contract, and Stratton is going to make her name at Becky's expense. Both sign, and then they privately discussed what they think the 18 to 49 audience can peak for from 9:30 to 10 tomorrow.
Well, we'll see. I mean, do you feel like this should? What has been the best, NXT rating, I guess, in its current incarnation, and do you expect this to top it?
It was It was like Dominic going for the North American title a number of months ago. That one I seem to recall was the big one that they had recently. So, last week they did 0.18, and I would say if they do 0.20 or higher, that would be really strong for NXT. And this is one of the bigger matches that they have with Becky wrestling on the show. It looks like a good show, but obviously Becky is the big star on the show. And I think it's also intriguing, not just because it's Becky on NXT, but how you book this match too. If you do a title change and Becky comes back at Battleground or whatever it is, No Mercy at the end of the month, I think people will be kind of disappointed if it's just sort of a DQ finish, which is kind of your easy out, but might also be the direction they go.
Yeah. And I think they've been doing a good job of putting Stratton on TV. And I thought tonight, giving her this promo space in this backstage contract signing, I thought Stratton sounded really good. I mean, first of all, Becky cut a great promo in a short amount of time, checked all the boxes, put her opponent over, explained the grudge. But Stratton being put it right up there with Becky Lynch, I thought her confidence was really strong. Her personality was strong as well. She looked like she belonged on the same stage as Becky, at least, in terms of a promo. So I have to think she's passing every single test that they're, setting up for her.
Yeah, if they had really been on the ball, they should have had Tiffany Stratton accused of snooping around in Becky's luggage last week and tearing her passport page.
Very good. Nice.
So also we forgot to mention during the news, but the whole Disney charter dispute ended this morning in time for tonight's Monday Night Football game. So that was, the game was going to be on ABC regardless tonight. So it was only going to be a relatively small amount that were going to be affected, but with that dispute resolved, big number tonight that you'll have with the Jets and Bills game that was on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Plus. Plus, you had the Manning cast going on. So for the first Monday Night Football game, we'll get a sense of what Raw does going up against it, because it's not like they stacked up tonight's show. They had the women's title match, and that was the big thing. And of course, Cody Rhodes returns to Raw. So that was your 1-2 punch for the show. And that was the main event: Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, and man, it picked up a little bit at the end, but man, this crowd was so checked out of this match. And I do not blame them either, because 3/4 of this match, it felt like an extension of the pay-per-view match for me. And I can't say I was getting into it all that much either.
I'm in total agreement. I was not that much more impressed with this particular match than the one that they had recently, which I did not enjoy. This one had the benefit of being much shorter, and I think maybe had a more significant ending. But it was not a great match, and that's been disappointing, seeing the lack of chemistry between these two.
Yeah, it was just a lot of both doing a ton of selling, and I don't know if it's the audience is just not into it with these two characters doing heavy sell spots, but it was also I could state that it's a match where I don't think anyone is viably believing the challenger can win, but conversely, last week I don't think anyone expected Chad Gable to win that match either, and they pulled off that audience was believing by the end of that one.
Yeah.
So both hit big boots. They go down. There was a Northern Lights by Rhea for a 2 count, stops the Riptide, and Raquel hits Rhea with a Snake Eyes for a 2 count. And then Ripley goes for the Eddie Guerrero frog splash and only gets a near fall.
No, the Dominic Mysterio frog splash.
Sorry, the Dominic trademarked frog splash. And then she goes for a cannonball off the apron. Raquel catches her and swings her into the desk. That was a cool spot. And then hit a Tejana bomb onto the edge. And Nia Jax jumps the barricade and hits Raquel with a Samoan drop on the floor, which Raquel just gets up from and rolls into the ring. And then she is leveled with a kick and a Riptide as Rhea retains the title.
I mean, she was on the verge of being counted out in the title match, so I could understand it. Plus, they just needed to get to the finish. But what a shocker, John! The return of Nia Jax to the WWE.
Is this well, it went 15-18, and then Jax, just to establish that she is not aligned with Rhea Ripley, attacks Ripley with a headbutt. Hits her with a leg drop off the apron and then a bonsai drop to end the show. So you don't know how you're supposed to. She's the heel and Raquel's the babyface and Rhea Ripley is somewhere in between all of this. And it got a reaction of, oh, it's Nia Jax, she's back. I don't know if this would have been high on my list of people I would be bringing back. And I look at that just from an objective standpoint, that she was let go, and in the last 2 years since she was let go, she has been in one match, and that was her Royal Rumble cameo. So it's not like she was out there and like getting better, and she's back here. And I just look at, like, there's tons of women in your developmental system. There are lots of great women out there. There are lots of great women on this roster that you have brought back. And here's another name that we're bringing back that is going to get a prime spot. And I don't know how captivating it is, unless they have a really great idea for her. But I don't know. This wasn't a tremendous ending to the show, I thought.
Well, yeah, I guess it's all dependent on how excited or how much you like the idea of a Nia Jax return. I feel like there are, yes, a lot of women in developmental, a lot of women in professional wrestling that they could have picked from. There aren't a lot of women that they've put a lot of their own resources into promoting, into creating a name. And not to say like Nia Jax is the biggest name, but I would still say she is a name, got a good reaction in that Royal Rumble. And I think got a decent reaction tonight. Everybody still remembers who she is. And if you're a big person in the WWE, you're always going to, be able to be used effectively, or at least, unless you're
Raquel Rodriguez.
Shanky. That's a good point, Raquel. Okay, well, I think it just more goes to show like the problem that they have with building other names. Like Raquel, they put actually a lot of TV time into, but I don't think she's really over at all. The result.
I don't think Nia Jax was that over when she left.
Yeah, okay, but at least she will be. Like good enough. Maybe for at least this month, I think so. If they want to build to a 1 month program between Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax, and then from that point on, see if Nia Jax can add any sort of value to anybody else in the division. Sure,
you do have that ability with Rhea, that she can shift back and forth and work with heels or baby faces. Like, it's not the end of the world to have the crowd into Rhea. I think ultimately that's where you want to get with Rhea. So I'm fine with that aspect.
And the other question is just who would be next for Rhea Ripley on this roster?
I would have said Shayna. Like that was your monster that you were trying to build, I would hope, coming out of SummerSlam. And
but then who's
toiling away in the dead end tag
But
division.
Then who's after Shayna? Like, I have to imagine they're saving Shayna.
Well, the same person who's after Nia. Like, there's always got to be more people. Like, you can't just go forever. Like, you have numbers. Like, why?
But how many people do you have that are significant enough? There are always people. Yes, I mean, but how many people have?
Is Nia considered significant?
More so than what? I don't know. Who else is on Raw? She's not replacing Shayna. I think
I'm just saying Shayna. For this role to be like the heel threat to Rhea Ripley that the audience can buy into.
Mm-hmm. They're going to get to Shayna eventually.
Okay,
but
are they?
I think they are. But like, there are a lot of months between now and WrestleMania, John. So how many?
I don't see Shayna being your WrestleMania opponent, but.
I don't think so either, but I'm just saying there are a lot of opponents that Rhea Ripley has to have, or Becky Lynch has to have between now and WrestleMania, and who are going to fill those slots because they haven't really been making new stars.
Well, it's Nia Jax, so we will see how she does with this pretty significant program that she's coming into with Rhea Ripley. But that was Raw, and I would say a bit of a episode that I think it leaned heavily on the 6-man tag that I thought was very good. And I really enjoyed that Drew McIntyre, Xavier Woods match. I thought those were the two standout matches on the show. A lot of Judgment Day and Jey Uso on the show. So, I mean, they're really trying to establish like, where is Jey going to go? But these are the building blocks of that. And they don't seem anywhere near like a resolution to where his allegiances are. And this is going to be I think a long drawn out story. And of course, huge Cody Rhodes segment on top of it.
Right. Yeah. I think that a program of like, Jey Uso and the continued sort of teasing of whether or not he's truly, is part of the good guys or the bad guys is doing really well. Nakamura, Rollins is in good shape. Gunther, I think Gable feels really strong. Beyond that, though, I do feel like this show might have been missing a more significant Cody segment. It was missing Sami Zayn's presence, I would say, and maybe like Becky Lynch in something a bit more notable than just like this backstage quick promo with Stratton as well. So
they also dropped, or I shouldn't say drop, but there was no reference to the idea that someone on this roster still has to go to SmackDown. Like that they were pushing a lot last week about the trade compensation.
Yeah, they continue to push it on SmackDown, so I imagine you'll still get it. But I guess there's no timeline for this trade.
You would think like SmackDown's like, you guys have Jey, where is our compensation? Like we want to get going with our trade. It's like you can't just like trade your left fielder and then he gets to play like a month before we get our side of the trade.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll do it after Fastlane.
Well, this is the slow lane for this trade. Okay, let's open it up. If you want to send in any super chats, you're welcome to do so. And we will go to forum.postwrestling.com.
Who's up first?
We hear from Muggin. A decent show with the return of Nia Jax that stunk up the joint. Who asked for this? That was in capital letters. Not going to rant too much. The Jey Uso Redemption Tour hit a speed bump with Drew McIntyre having a bone to pick. The opening segment with Kevin Owens actually understanding where Jey's been. That leaves plenty of room to grow, along with the Judgment Day wooing him. The six-man was strong. I got to give it to Bobby Roode and Nick Aldis. They know how to produce.
All right.
They know how to produce.
Do we know that they were the ones to produce that match?
I would assume so if he's specifically linking them. So there you have it. All right. Well, thank you, Muggin, for your thoughts on tonight's edition of Raw. A reminder that Tuesday night, Braden and Davey are back 10:15 Eastern here on the Post YouTube channel. So do give our video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and it just sends our YouTube channel into a different stratosphere when it comes to all the have you seen Kevin Nash's new strategy?
Just talk a lot of shit about CM Punk.
Yeah, that's it. Like he's figured out like how this works. He just comes up with these sound bites.
I mean, I think the LA Knight comments are probably doing just as well for him. Got him some TV mentions, or at least references.
Yeah, that's it. That's how he rolls. So up next is coming your way on Tuesday. Wai and I will be back on Tuesday. We have two shows on Wednesday. I will be with Brandon Thurston at 3 Eastern, and then with Wai on Wednesday night, 10 Eastern, after Dynamite and Roderick Strong versus Samoa Joe. So look out for all of that. And that is it for Rewind to Raw. And we want to give all of you out there a little credit.